one word in the comment section on how you would summarize your day today.
How would you summarize your day, Chris?
Accomplished will be my day today.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
It's great.
Great.
I feel great, yeah.
That was an uptone too, right?
The rain is pouring here on the Gold Coast.
The heavens are open.
It's great. We love it. What are other people saying? Ticking along. That's two words technically,
yeah.
April.
At least it's moving forward though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's same on Facebook. If you guys are watching out in that world, then make sure you say how you're feeling. What are we covering today?
Today we are covering, for me, one of the most powerful tools in Swish, selling with integrity, selling honestly, and it's your forte, to be honest, Rob. So we're going to cover reciprocity today and how to utilize that in your engagement with clients and how to build up more value using that particular tool. So Rob, how about yourself?
Before we go into it, who are you? We might as well tell people just in case people don't know who we are.
So my name's Chris Blackburn. My role here is the head of sales for ISR training. Yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Rob Hawks, head of coaching. I don't know where to look. I'm going to look at Facebook today. So today we're covering reciprocity, or the law of it, and what it means. So look, for those of you who aren't aware or who are going to be listening in at a later stage or doing this live, basically in layman's terms, it's basically you'll scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's the understanding that we're going to be reciprocating an exchange of something. So that could be an exchange of feelings, it could be an exchange of information, it could be an exchange of services, it could be people-wise, it could be about, if I'm talking in a polite, friendly manner and continue to do so, I'm going to expect the other person to do the very same.
So return that back to you.
Exactly. So if I'm talking in a obnoxious or condescending way, I might get that in a similar response.
For sure. I think we've all had that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully not on the phone with us. So I guess to summarize in that, it's like treating people potentially the way that you would want to be treated. Giving people, so if you give respect, I would expect it back. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's very fair.
So so that's kind of what I feel. I suppose other people would maybe consider it to be collaboration. So it might be a case of, well, if I offer you something in return, in the business world, that could be known as a Contra deal, so being able to exchange in services, but also there's other ways in which we can use it. And obviously we reflect it back in the sales environment. So what does that mean when we're talking about transacting or something like that? So
yeah, I think with that, Rob, I think from a sales perspective, and maybe when we go to events and things like that, that normally with reciprocity, when something gives us, we kind of feel like it's within our duty to give something back in return. Is that pretty much what you mean by that?
Yeah. So, but I think you've got to be careful that you're not only doing it to return.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So kind of doing it for them, having the sole intent to actually give because you believe that's the right thing to do, not giving because you expect them to return straight away.
Like, it's that thing of like, if I throw a tennis ball against the wall, it will come back, but I'm doing it.
It might come back twice as quick. That.
Yeah, it might do, depending on how hard I throw it. Yeah, but that's it. You don't know how much you're going to receive back. But also, we did a consistency a few weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and I also feel that that's part of reciprocity is is keeping people consistent to what they've said, which we can go into it. But I guess the principle of it is from a from a psychology perspective is that subconscious agreement that I've done something for you, therefore I'm going to get something in return. So you've recently experienced that, having about to join BNI, right? You're going to represent ISR in BNI. So firstly, what is BNI for those of you who don't know?
So BNI is a business networking institution where, for myself now, I get the opportunity with 50 business owners on a weekly basis now in all different industries, that you can't really have a conflict of interest in there. But one of the big core values is turning up to a referral network, because everybody's in there to generate referrals and grow their business locally and nationally, of course, as well. One of their big values is givers gain, going in there with the sole intent. Like, for example, if I turn up to a business event with 50 owners, been able to work across multiple industries, but go in there with the expectation that every single one of them wants sales training, I don't think I'll make many customers out of the back of that.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose of going in there is actually to give as many referrals as you possibly can to that other company, organization, what they're looking for, with no intent to get that on the return as well. Well, you're obviously been in BNI as well. You've been there for what, 2 years now?
18 months.
18 months now.
Like
so
that.
How would you summarize BNI and your experience with even just networking as a whole, not even just that?
Well, I guess with BNI in general, their whole philosophy is givers gain. So, you know, you give to gain, and I think everybody knows that. I've been quite fortunate to have been recognized for the giving side of it. Some of the referrals that I've passed to other people in the group has amounted to over $1 million.
That's awesome, mate. That's amazing.
Yeah, and there aren't that many people. That's my first year. I'm not saying that from an egotistical perspective.
That's in closed business too, right?
For someone else, yeah. So someone else has received that, and that's not. I'm not expecting that back. I mean, it'd be nice, but you know, it's because I could make a connection because I had the opportunity to do it. Obviously, if it comes back my way, then you know, that'd be good to have. So I think you know, going into it with a preconceived idea won't work, but it does get recognised within the group. Absolutely. That wow, okay, that somebody's had the opportunity to pass that through. If it comes back my way, great. I'm not going to hold a grudge if it doesn't.
Is it fair to say the $1 million worth of transaction business that you passed over, you did receive reciprocal?
I've received a chunk back, yeah, and you know, and I think especially with the individual that it was for, there was a you know, probably 2/3 of that was just one person. Given that was one of our clients, you know, he in construction, you know, he was a client of ours, but he also gave everything to the training that he was doing with Jack. He gave his all, he put everything into it, and now he's receiving it back tenfold. So I suppose you could also talk about the law of reciprocity, in that, you know, you get what you put in. You know, it's like anything. If you go to the gym and you stand and look at everyone doing the work, you're not going to get anything out of it. I've certainly never done that. I always give my
just never go to the gym.
I just never go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm training for something, so I think that understanding that that's part of it. But I also think if we start to go into a bit more technical side of it, maybe some practical takeaways here. I think that what value can you give would be my advice. Like, you know, from our perspective, can you give something on a call or on an interaction? You know, we might give a little bit of coaching. You know, I might give a little bit of you know, the what. Yeah. You know, like we've got a 4-step process to overcoming objections. I might give you a couple, and in giving that, in the sales perspective, you know, there might be that I've given you a little bit, therefore I would expect something back.
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe in the chat as well with the guys we've got on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever we're watching this, across the socials as well. Just popping in a comment and maybe giving advice for other business owners inside here as well. How do you give as a business? What sort of things can you offer as a company that may give other people ideas on the area of giving?
Not a service giving, like, do you mean, or what do you mean?
Just an unintentional give. Okay,
yeah. So what can you give? So if we were answering this question in this, we would say coaching tips.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So perhaps yeah, in the chat. Yeah. So what can you give? What could be something you can give? So while people are answering, I feel like reciprocity is what. Right, like I say, one of my favourite tools, based on the fact that we keep people accountable to what they've said to us. So I'm a big fan of, if somebody has said to me what it is that they want, I would actually be of the belief that if I can show them what it is that they want, there's that unwritten rule that I'm going to buy that. You know, like Jack, we always talk about Subway. You know, like you walk into Subway, you order your foot long, you know, you go through and you say, I want lettuce, cucumber, cheese, tomato, this type of cheese, this filling. But at the end of it, they give it to you. You don't go, oh no, that's not what I ordered.
Can you do anything on the price?
Yeah, yeah. Can you just, yeah, it's not, because I've asked for that. So perhaps to implement reciprocity from a sales perspective, if you ask somebody, what does perfect look like? What's the ideal outcome here? And then at the end of the presentation, you can reflect that back on them. There's almost that unwritten rule that, well, you know, like, I'm almost obligated that I've at least got to look into it. Like, we've got like April, you're in real estate. You know, if I say to somebody, okay, well, I want a 3-bed, 2-garage with a pool, in this area with this, by this school, etc., etc., and yeah, this budget, and she finds it for me. Well, it's kind of like, well, I've at least got to go and look at it, you know, like, because that's what I've asked for. And I think that's where, from a sales perspective, reciprocity is so powerful. And I think that would be, you know, also use the terminology and the language. Yeah, if you're suggesting to me that I could do X, Y, and Z, are we moving forwards today, and get that low level commitment based on that reciprocal, like, well, if I can do that for you, are we moving forwards?
Where would you place that within the sales? Because I think that's very powerful. If I can show you what perfect looks like, so where would you place that sort of questioning within your sales process?
What does perfect look like?
Early
on
in
the discovery. So I would ask it, it's a big picture question. So, you know, in the 6 stages of rapport building, it's the first thing we do. So I would ask that big picture early on, and then reflect that back to them during that presentation.
Depending on personality types, the rapport you've built, how the lead came in,
obviously
get the right answer,
including all of that. And then asking, and say, look, are you happy to move forwards at the end of that? You know, if we can organise that for you, are you pretty happy? And then it's very difficult at the end to kind of say no to that, but that's why it's such a powerful tool, and it's got to be used in the right way. You know, we don't want to overuse it, because it can get a little bit annoying and to push it. If you're saying, oh, well, I'm going to do that for you, so you better sign up, that's not what we want.
Couple of comments in there. So Mandy, water hydration tips as well, that's awesome. Another one from April, tips for presenting your home better, or specific focus on the reno, to add value to your home. I think the big theme there is hinting tips, you know, giving value to the end user. I had that person with a client, or a prospect, should I say, the other day, that in the construction trade didn't believe that sales was a part of what they do. And I appreciated that, gave 2 practical takeaways that he could implement in his business. Loved the advice. I had no intent to sign up the person to our training. I just believed that was the right thing that he needed on that call. If he ever looks for sales training, the likelihood of him coming back to me is higher than if I said, well, I don't think you need sales training, so let's leave the conversation there. I understood his business. I gave 2 practical tips that he believed would help him in his quoting phase and be able to help his conversion.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was the purpose of my call. So I think if you go in with that soulless intent, you tend to receive more back.
So more so that what can I do to help this person?
For sure.
If appropriate, and then give it. See what we get back. That's cool. Okay. So what else and hints and tips. So I guess being able to give essentially. One of the things that about give to take, and I mentioned it a few times before, is reciprocity questions. You know, if you've ever got anybody that you're finding hard to open up, you know, there's a reason for that. If out of a stone. We've all had those people where you say, hey, you know, what's going on? Yeah, not much.
You doing well?
Just one word answers. It can be quite frustrating.
So how would you help that? How would you fix that?
So reciprocity based questions is answering the question that you're about to ask. So that's that social obligation that would suggest that if I know more about you, if I say, okay, so Chris, I grew up in Portsmouth. I spent 8-9 years in training housing in the housing industry. So where are you from, mate? What's your background?
I'm not going to say why are you asking that question. I'm going to say, perfect. I'm from a place called Doncaster over in the UK. My background over there was in telecommunications. So that's the sort of role I've done.
So I guess understanding that there is a reason why they're not opening up, and that's because of trust. So if you can share a little bit more about you, that's that that social obligate. I kind of feel like I have to answer the question. Again, that's why reciprocity is so powerful.
In the right order.
Don't overuse it. Don't keep saying it. You know, if you keep answering every single question,
you
then
don't give options.
and it can get a little bit annoying. So and I guess that's also because nobody wants to be nobody wants to be called out or being called a fool. You know, they don't want to be, you know, like caught out. You know, but so it's not about trying to catch someone out and saying, well,
or something like that.
Yeah, like, well, earlier you said that.
Yeah.
Because like that's not
people see through that.
Yeah, but I think it's yeah, you don't want to make people feel guilty. You know, that I don't want to make you feel guilty.
Obligated.
Because when you buy out of obligation, that's where you get buyer's remorse or refund requests, which we don't want. What about, Chris, for you know, sort of keeping people accountable? We've got some people out there that cold call, that make cold outreach. Can reciprocity be used in that regard? Yeah,
absolutely. I think also even just general phone communication, if you're sending over a business proposal or a quote or information, I think from a phone perspective, you know, like if you're, let's say it's the second time you've spoken with somebody, they've asked to send an email, that's a perfect opportunity to build up reciprocity. So with Mandy as an example, who I can just see in the picture there, you know, I spoke with you yesterday and I sent across that email as you asked, and I know you probably had a few, you know, occasions to run over that. You kind of starting the call where it left off, if that kind of makes sense. So you're actually building up the reciprocities. You know, I did send that email as requested, as I said I would, and then you're into the call from there, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So like they say, oh, send me an email, and you're going, I sent you the email.
As I said I would.
Did you read it? Yeah, almost. Yeah. April's put in the chat there on Zoom, helping someone out. You know, referring them to somewhere else, color coding, you know, so sometimes it's also helping the brand, your own personal brand, just being someone who helps, you know, which I think is which is important to mention.
Yeah, just adding on from the phone communication, I had a personal experience not yesterday, the day before, with Vodafone. They actually called me back, got a new phone, and they said, we're just giving you a really quick call back upon your request. I can't really argue with that because I asked them to call me back. Yeah, you know, so they've instantly done that. Obviously, from a sales brain, I was kind of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I did actually request the call back, so I will take the call.
What ended up?
Well, my phone got delivered today, so so yeah, it went pretty well. But I needed the phone anyway. But the whole point of that was the way they'd pretty much asked me for more time, if that makes sense as well, is kind of just following up on my request. Yeah. So I like that. So
that element of reciprocity is keeping people accountable.
Absolutely.
What about follow up then? Because that's obviously we get asked that a lot. We get, look, you know, people say no, they need to think about it. You know, and look, we know in an ideal world that it would be great if that didn't happen, but the reality is it does. So what can people do in that regard then, in terms of follow up? Do you think, like, what would be a way of having that little bit like, you know, that I just received this or that, you know?
Yeah, great question. I'd probably say around having an abundance of content. I think what a common theme was in the chat there was having tips and advice for your potential prospect or client as well. So having an abundance of maybe videos, documents, podcast links, things on YouTube, documentation that's relevant to what they're looking for as well. So we call that value added follow-up. So after you've had a communication, if we're discussing with a client around tonality, and then I speak to them in a couple of days and said, hey, just thought of you actually the other day and came across this piece of content in our academy and it covers the 8 macro tones of voice. I hope you get some value from that. I send that through with no intent of a call to action. I just send that as what we call value added follow-up, and making sure you're staying recent and frequent with the client, absolutely, but keeping the touch points in there.
Yeah.
So if there's any practical from that, I'd probably have, I'd say in abundance, but at least, you know, 12 to 15 pieces of content that you can send out consistently to the client that's keeping the value going, and keeps the reciprocity building as well.
So you receive, you know, you have a conversation, you talk to someone, they need to think about it. A couple of days later, you send them something relevant that you think will help them. And say, oh, hey, thinking of you. Because that also then some go, okay, well, actually that is quite relevant. Have a read. They might use it. And even if they don't, from a sales perspective, it's quite powerful to be like, you know, and that it could be gifts, it could be samples, it could be, you know, this property matches what you're thinking, or it might not be, or hey, did you hear about this? So I think, and like diversifying your content as well. Not just having reading documents, but also visuals, something that would make you be a bit more memorable.
And that could go in your discovery too, right? Getting an understanding of the customer on what sort of information they like to receive as well.
Yeah, well, I guess so, because you don't want to just send them something random. Because that also comes into something that we'll cover in another week, which is personalization. There's nothing worse than receiving something that's impersonal. It's like, oh, they're just sending that. I mean, look, it's okay. I don't mind getting things like that
if it's valuable.
If it's valuable, yeah, that's the key. So it really has to be value add. But also it just builds that. Okay, well, geez, these guys have done this. They've done this. They've done this. Maybe it is something that I need to do, and maybe they do genuinely care. And I think that's the idea, is that that's what I said earlier about if you overuse it, it can break rapport. And I also think that a lot of people will say about follow-up, well, how can I, if you're only ever calling to, oh, have you paid yet? Have you looked at that invoice? If you're always looking for them to get something out of it, can you provide something that's a little bit different?
As an example, how have you done that over your time?
I think probably one of my biggest ones would be on LinkedIn. Sending a sort of a link to something for them to read
after you've already spoken with them.
Ebooks are quite good as well, like especially if you've mentioned it. In my role as coach, and I obviously like to point people to a lot of books, and so when I'm still in sales, obviously, so hey, did you read that? But that also as well, from my perspective, not just in sales, but also people attending the coaching sessions, like, it's about, dropping a message here and there and just making sure that you like, hey, I'm still here. I still care, because I want people to feel valued, because they've invested in. So it's also not just about obtaining new clients. I'd say it's also a post client experience.
Absolutely.
Feeling like, well, I said I care, and I do care, and here's some things that are relevant. So things on LinkedIn, books, ebooks, and I think very personal things that are actually relevant to the individual.
Maybe that's a key takeaway for anybody that's got an abundance of a client list as well. Maybe if we could send 10 to 15 people a nice little touch point today, just adding some value to their lives, knowing them as individuals with no call to action, something will come back anyway.
You could do that with your family and your friends, it's like, there's nothing worse than reaching out to somebody and I haven't spoken to them in months, and it's got not a lot of giving back. I think that's possibly what I don't want people to go away from this when they listen to it and watch it again, is that it's always about receiving back. I just believe that will come, but there's great ways to be able to do that. So
law of averages show you do need to give more than what you take, obviously. It just shows from your BNI,
I would say so,
in order to generate that.
We've had a comment from Connor. Hey mate, good to see you. Following up over email, value-based follow-up once a week. No call to action anyway to reignite a response. It's a good question. I think making sure that what you've been doing is relevant to what they're after. After a month or so, I think I'd be looking at sort of maybe a bit of a line in the sand, or just saying, look, and feel free to actually say what you've done. I think being elegant in the way that you say that the time and the effort that I've put into this, there's a very elegant way you can do that through third-party stories.
I think also, Connor, with that, knowing yourself personally, mate, I think looking at diversifying your follow-up, you've obviously popped in there following up over email. Let's drop a text message, on the socials if it's a B2B and you get an ability to do that. Not even with a message, just tag their name into something that's going to lend value to them. You may find that they just like the post, or they drop you a message saying, hey mate, sorry I've not got back to you. Thank you so much for reaching out and just pushing this my way. That could potentially mix it up for you and reignite it. And again, we can't convert every single customer we're speaking to. If it's not right for the client, it's not right for the client. But if you, hand on your heart, believe that what you offer is, try a different way to reach out to them. But as Rob said, if it has been over the course of a long time, sort of you know, line in the sand. How would you mean by that, actually? I think that's.
But also, I think if we're not saying about a call to action, and we're actually saying, hey, like, I've flicked you over all of this info.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Actually asking and saying, hey, like, I've sent you all of this. You know, do you mind me asking what your thoughts were?
Yeah.
You know, and actually asking and say, is that fair? Is it fair that you give me a response? So
Sure.
a line in the sand is more though, look, we've been playing this merry dance for a while. You know, can we at least make a decision? And it's also a respect thing as well. Like, I want to respect your time. So I don't want to continually follow up and try and contact you at times that aren't available. So out of respect for your time, perhaps just let me know, you know, and reciprocate the fact that, you know, I'm doing this for you. Can you do this for me?
And either way, respect your decision as well.
Yeah.
Then you just finish it off in a nice note. I don't think we've ever sent a line in the sand with a bad response. It's more of, you know, thank you for the messages. We've been flat out. Just not the right time for us as a business, but we will get back to you. At least you do get something back. Generally.
Which I think helps.
Hopefully that helps, Connor. Just drop a Y in that, or give me a call, whatever's easiest for you. Yeah,
cool. But we're almost at the end of the session now. For some of you who are joining us on the socials like Facebook or whatnot, you may have seen that we said there was going to be a little bit of a gift at the end of this, given that it is reciprocity and it's all about give. And we want to carry on down that road for everyone. So we've got a gift for anyone really who gets involved. So as you may or may not know, on May the 21st, so that's May the 21st, what date?
May the 21st.
May the 21st. And we're hosting the first ever SWISH Summit. So we've got 5 world-class speakers who are going to be talking in no particular order. We've got Ryan Tuckwood, our director, covering sales as a noble art. We've got Andrew Banks, who for some of you would know is on Shark Tank, but he's also the first billion-dollar owner of a recruitment company that was in the 90s. He's going to be covering common attributes of a successful company. We've got Steve Baxter speaking on technology affecting our future. He's the former chief entrepreneur of Queensland. And then we've got Dr. Glen Richards, the founder of Green Cross Vets. So he's talking about chaos through to exponential growth. And then we've also got our other director and co-founder, Jack Corbett, talking about the psychology of the consumer. So they're the 5 speakers at the SWISH Summit on May 21st in Brisbane, which is pretty cool.
Not a bad lineup, if I'm allowed an opinion.
Yeah, you obviously are. So we're giving away tickets to this event. We're going to give one general admission, which is worth $97. And we're also going to be giving away one VIP ticket worth $197. If you're a current client, let's say you've already bought a ticket, and you win, great way to value add a ticket to someone for a bit of reciprocity. Hey, I thought of you having this ticket. So what do you need to do to enter? I hear you cry. So grab a pen or something, grab something to make a note, or if you're listening to this post-dated, you know, get out a pad and pen.
Or
and
if you're driving, go back and watch it.
Yeah, go back and watch it and just listen to this bit. But Chris is going to tell you how you can get involved to win those tickets.
Beautiful. So we're going to keep this very, very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to do a live prize draw this Friday, the 28th at 3 p.m. So we've got Friday, the 28th at 3 p.m. and we'll announce the lucky winners. So there's only 3 things that you need to do. So again, like Rob mentioned, if we're watching this on Zoom, Facebook, LinkedIn, just head to the ISR Training Facebook page. So the ISR Training Facebook page. Go to this live feed today. Tomorrow the upload will be in there as well. So head towards this video. The first thing you need to do is just tag 3 friends who need to know more about this SWISH Summit. So tag 3 friends that need to know more about what we're doing. Number 2, make sure you are following ISR Training on the socials. Okay.
Easy done.
And number 3, so again, we've got tag 3 friends who you believe needs to know more. Make sure you're following ISR Training on the socials. And if you would like an additional entry, so a bonus entry that we're going to offer as well, head to the ISR Training LinkedIn page and just let us know in your comments section on today's training, which areas would you like me and Rob to cover moving forward that's going to add value into your business and your day-to-day.
So what people want to see from, what you want to see from us in later sessions.
Revolving around sales, communication, business, just anything in there that you believe will lend value to yourself and other people, please head to the ISR Training LinkedIn page. So just to wrap that up, comment with 3 people, following ISR, and then just jump to the LinkedIn as well, from there as well.
So, okay, so we've got people saying me VIP. I think you've got Boris on Facebook saying hook a brother up. So those are ways to do it. Jump onto Facebook, tag 3 people that you think would benefit from knowing more about the SWISH Summit. Like us and follow us on the socials. And if you want an extra, I would say Brucey bonus, but if you don't watch anything in the UK, people don't know what I'm on about.
Probably not in Australia.
No, definitely not. But if you want a bonus entry, go to LinkedIn, type in what you want to cover, obviously to do with sales.
Friday at 3 p.m. Queensland time, we will draw it live and post the video on there too.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate your time, mate.
Thank you for everybody attending Facebook. What are we covering next week, actually?
We are covering scarcity. Another one of my favorite tools. I've got a lot of favorite tools, haven't I? How to build scarcity and urgency into your sales presentation. So, awesome. That'd be limited spaces available on that one.
Amazing. But have an amazing evening. Thank you so much again for attending, and look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Okay, brilliant.
All
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Bye.